From Barefoot to Billionaire, how a poor girl shocked a millionaire CEO at 3 a.m. interview. The clock struck 3. Shadows draped over the city like a dark, heavy blanket. In a room filled with luxury, one girl sat barefoot across from the most feared CEO in Silicon Valley. Her heart pounded like a drum, each beat echoing in the silence. They said she had no chance, that this was just a formality, but she wasn't here to play by the rules. She was laser-focused, eyes locked on him, every nerve in her body alive with determination. Tonight was not just another interview, it was a showdown. Outside, the wind howled, as if warning the world of the intensity brewing inside. The walls of the high-rise, shimmering like glass giants, couldn't contain the electric tension that hummed in the air. She wore a simple white dress, wrinkled from a long journey. But her spirit sparkled bright, a blinding star in an ocean of corporate giants. The contrast was stark, a barefoot girl against a billionaire in a tailored suit. Right then, she reached into her worn leather bag and pulled out a crumpled resume. Their eyes met, and a chill slithered down her spine as he raised an eyebrow. Was it disbelief? Intrigue? The room cloaked itself in an unsettling silence as she dared to speak. "What if I can double your profits?" she challenged, her voice steady but breathless. "In 6 months." His lips twisted in a sly grin, hiding an impending storm. No one talked to him like that. There was a flicker in his eyes, a glimmer of something beyond the usual arrogance. Suddenly, the clock chimed, loud and ominous, and both were reminded of the stakes at hand. How could a girl from the streets even think she belonged here? Why was he interested in her at all? It was a question that lingered in the air, thick, tangible, suffocating. Every second that ticked by stacked with curiosity and disbelief. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." As the words hung in the air, he leaned back, fingers steepled, evaluating her like she was a complicated equation he was desperate to solve. Was it confidence in her voice, or was he feeling a spark of doubt in his own empire? The questions raced like wildfire. Would she really pull it off? Who was she, really? This girl who looked so fragile yet so fiercely unwavering. Tension electrified the atmosphere. She held his gaze, and in that moment, the room seemed to shrink. A world of possibilities opened wide, and the weight of that gaze bore down on them. The fate of 2 lives hung by a thread. Who knew where the night would lead them both? Would she leave a footprint in his world of wealth, or disappear like a shadow before dawn broke? All that was left was the jagged silence that cracked and sizzled between their breaths, quietly demanding the answers. He finally broke the silence, his voice low and deliberate. "Doubling profits is quite the claim for someone in your position." Each word dripped with skepticism, like poison seeping into a wound. But she couldn't back down now. This was her moment, the one she'd spent years dreaming of, clawing her way through every obstacle life tossed at her. "What if I told you," she replied, determination igniting in her chest, "that I've done it before? That I know the game better than anyone dressed like that?" She gestured subtly to his tailored suit, a confident smirk dancing on her lips. His eyes narrowed, caught somewhere between amusement and fury. "Your resume is a testament to your hard work, but I need results, not dreams," he shot back, his smile now replaced by the coldness of steel. She could feel the walls closing in, suffocating her with doubt. With a deep breath, she dug deeper into her resolve. "I grew up watching my mother fight to keep our lights on, turning every penny into gold. I learned to see opportunities where others saw obstacles. That's why I believe I can do what you think is impossible." The words flew out, raw, genuine, brimming with heat. He leaned forward, suddenly intrigued. Go on. The challenge in his voice pulled her into another world. She could paint a picture of themselves as allies, her instincts navigating the wild waters of the market, his resources pushing them to heights no one had witnessed before. Yet, she knew that this was more than a business proposition, it was a dance of wits and emotions. I have ideas, she pressed, leaning into the moment like a tightrope walker, balanced between confidence and vulnerability. You've built a fortress, but it's crumbling. Your current strategies are outdated. They won't withstand this market's storms. He arched an eyebrow, visibly amused. And you think a girl with what did you call it? A simple white dress understands the storms of Silicon Valley? Mockery seeped from his tone, yet there was something else. A flicker of curiosity maybe, or concern. Yes, she replied, her voice unwavering. And I also know how to weather them. I want to revamp your entire model. Internet is shifting again, and if you don't act fast, you'll drown. Seconds passed, thick with tension. His expression showed some fight, as if he were wrestling with the urge to either dismiss her or lean in closer. Her heart raced not from fear but from the rush of knowing she had cornered him into a moment of indecision. Tell me more, he finally said, crossing his arms in a way that was both protective and challenging. She took this invitation as a cue, ready to unleash her plans, a flood of creativity, innovation, and raw, unrefined ambition. But just as she began, the lights flickered ominously. A sharp gust of wind rattled the windows, and the floors beneath them quivered an earthquake. Panic danced in her chest. He glanced at the door, visibly annoyed but intrigued, as if he wanted to shut out the reality shaking their world. In this moment of suspense, an idea struck her. She turned her focus back to him, eyes burning with intensity. If you keep me around, we can navigate any storm together. But if you dismiss me now, the ground could fall out from beneath us both. An unreadable expression crossed his features. What would he choose? A girl in a wrinkled dress or the calm of his current empire? As the wind outside howled like a beast, she held her breath, waiting for his answer. What lay on the line now wasn't just a job, it was a chance to shatter the glass ceiling. But what she didn't know was just how dangerous this gamble would turn out to be. The wind screeched through the cracks of the old building, drowning the moment in a haunting whistle. As her heart raced, she couldn't help but wonder if maybe she had triggered a storm far beyond the raging weather outside. The stakes felt impossibly high, and she had thrown her chips on a man whose laughter echoed like thunder just before a downpour. He straightened, fixing her with a gaze that felt like ice. Your proposal is bold, but it better be foolproof, he warned. I don't play games. My entire operation rides on stability. She opened her mouth to respond, but the clang of the door against the wall cut her off. A figure burst into the room, panting as if they had just sprinted from the depths of hell itself. Their situation, the newcomer gasped, eyes wide and darting as if the monster had followed him through the doorway. The investments they've taken a hit. A serious one. We need to act now. A jolt of adrenaline shot through her. This was the chaos she had sensed. The cool facade that the CEO wore cracked for just a moment, revealing layers of tension underlying his composed demeanor. What happened? He snapped, his voice a low growl as his attention swung back to the other man. They're pulling out. I just got word. We need to pivot, or we'll lose everything. The air grew thick with electricity. She glanced back at the CEO, whose mouth tightened into a line. He seemed to wrestle with a decision, weighing the more catastrophic fallout. She felt the moment swell alive with fear, yet crackling with opportunity. Or she began, hesitating for the briefest instant before pushing through the storm within her. Or we can maximize this moment. A sudden shift could signal strength. It's a window, a chance to catch their eye with innovative tactics. She met his gaze, and for the first time, their uncertainty seemed to align. I need specific strategies, he said, his voice lower now, almost urgent. She took a step forward, an instinctive leap of faith. Let us leverage social media. Create buzz around the brand's resilience. Draw attention to our adaptability. Announce a new initiative, something fresh that will not only reassure current investors but also attract new ones. We can turn this crisis into a launchpad. He watched her closely, every breath taut with suspicion. And what if it backfires? What if we spiral down from here? Then we'll take the blame together, she declared fiercely. The very essence of her youth and ambition poured into those words, a promise of loyalty wrapped in steel. I'm not just here to survive, I'm here to thrive. Together. The evaluate of his expression continued, the battle between skepticism and intrigue raging in his eyes. Bold claims for a risk like this. If then let us take that risk. She cut in, emboldened by the desperation of the moment. We can't sit in fear while everything crumbles. We've got to move, to act now. Suddenly, lights flickered more violently, plunging them into intermittent darkness, as if the universe itself fought against her insistence. A thunderous clap shook the walls, echoing through the room like a cry for action. She flinched, blinking against the shadows, but held her ground. The wind curled around them, howling like a discontented creature. All right, he said finally, steel in his voice. Let us turn this storm into our weapon and prove everyone wrong. But if this doesn't work, then we find a way to make it right, she interrupted, her heart pounding. This is our moment to redefine everything. The tension spun thick and coiled between them, stretching taut as if ready to snap. He stepped toward her, inviting a new alliance, the possibility of something electric surging through them, but just as they leaned into the precipice of a new partnership, the door swung wide again, this time swinging so forcefully it slammed against the wall, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows, and this time, it wasn't just bad news that stepped over the threshold. Get back! She screamed as she saw the glint of something metallic in the figure's hand, followed by panicked whispers echoing. Those in the room. What the hell is happening? In that moment, with fear spilling into determination, everything was about to change. But as light flickered back across their faces, only one thought occupied her mind: the storm outside was nothing compared to the chaos they were about to face within. Would they emerge from the wreckage unscathed, or would their gamble cost them everything? The new arrival stepped fully into the light, revealing a man with wild, tousled hair and a face etched with fear. His eyes darted around the room, wild and pleading, as if he had just narrowly escaped a pack of wolves. The metallic object glimmered ominously in his grasp, a handgun, gripped tightly, trembling slightly as he spoke. Please. You have to help me. His voice cracked, ragged and desperate. They're coming. They know. I saw the documents. If we don't move now, the CEO's demeanor shifted instantly, the earlier tension snapping like a brittle twig. Get away from him. He ordered, but his mouth barely formed the words as he instinctively backed toward her, his eyes narrowing. Wait. She interjected. What documents? Who is coming? You need to tell us everything. In that moment, the chaos twisted further, fueling the storm brewing within her. She understood. This was not just about investments or strategies anymore. This was survival. Her instincts kicked in, amplifying her resolve. I need this, she murmured, barely audible over the rising panic. After the merger, they're not just pulling out, the man continued, his breath quickening, sweat beading on his brow. They're coming to obliterate everything. They think you're the only one who knows. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum in her ears. The idea that their fate hung on the brink of malevolent forces sent a shiver down her spine. She held her ground, eyes trained on the newcomer, a part of her weighing the risks against the instinct to flee. The CEO was stone-faced, calculating. Focus, he said, trying to re-establish control over the chaos. Start from the beginning. Who is coming? And why now? The man swallowed hard, his gaze shifting around the room as if the shadows themselves were listening. I don't know their names, but they're out for blood. They want to silence anyone who knows what is going on, especially you." He pointed an unsteady finger at the CEO, light flickered against the walls again, as if the entire building were glancing toward danger. "Because you're standing in the way of their plans. They won't stop until you're gone." An icy grip tightened around her heart. "What plans?" she demanded, leaning closer. "What do they want?" He opened his mouth, but the sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway, heavy and deliberate. The air thickened, filled with the scent of dread. A moment of hesitation hung in the room, eyes wide, breaths shallow. The figure clasped the gun tighter, sweat streaming down his temples. "They're here," he rasped. "What do we do?" The CEO stepped forward, taking charge, as if igniting a spark of courage deep within. "We fight. But first we move." She felt the adrenaline surging through her veins, igniting a fire. "We can't escape without a plan. We must create a diversion. If they think we're here." Before she could finish, the door rattled violently, slamming against the wall as several shadowy figures breached the room's threshold, flooding in like a horde of wolves set on their prey. The startled flick of eyes, a quick intake of breath, and guns were drawn. Silence coated the air, broken only by the thud of their hearts racing in tandem. Suddenly, the man with the gun twisted, pointing it at the CEO, his face a mask of despair. "I didn't want to bring them here, but now it's too late for all of us." The shadows pressed closer, laughter swirling around them like a chilling mist, and in that split second, everything spiraled. Out of options, out of time, the reality of being cornered played like a heartbeat against her chest. Were they ready to fight back, or should they cut their losses? As chaos erupted around them, one thing felt certain: choices had to be made. And time was running out. Adrenaline coursed through her, a burning fire urging her to act. She could almost feel the weight of every gun drawn in the room, all eyes poised on the tension between the newcomer and the CEO. The harsh shadows twisted bodies into grotesque shapes, and for a fleeting moment, terror froze her in place. "Stand down!" the CEO shouted, his voice cutting through the electric air. But as he shouted, the man's finger tightened on the gun's trigger. Her heart thudded harder, blood pumping in rhythm with the rising chaos. In an unexpected rush, she threw herself between them, hands raised. "Wait. Just listen. You're both scared, but there's still a chance if we work together." The newcomer's eyes darted around, catching a desperate flicker of hope in her gaze. For a moment, the tension didn't seem to suffocate them, it lifted, suspended in the air, trembling. But the shadows couldn't be stilled. They surged forward, tightening their grip. Then it happened. A shot pierced the silence, the echo ricocheted off the walls like a thunderclap, drowning out any clarity. The newcomer staggered, a look of disbelief washing over his face as he swayed slightly. She could see the crimson stain blossoming on his shirt, spreading like dark petals opening up against his skin. The CEO's eyes widened, lost in shock. The room vibrated, suddenly small and claustrophobic as if the walls were closing in. "Get down!" she screamed, diving behind a nearby desk just as the attackers surged forward, weapons raised. She felt the cold floor against her cheek, heart hammering, breath hitching dangerously. "Breach!" a voice shouted from the shadows, sending a rush of feet pounding across the floor. Chaos erupted again, bodies colliding, desks toppling over like dominoes. She caught glimpses of terrified expressions painted in panic as bullets fired, ricocheting off metal and wood. Guttural shouts filled the air, mingled with the sharp crack of gunfire. Time twisted, transformed into a spiraling chaos, as she glanced at the man with the gun now crumpled on the floor, eyes wide, a mixture of disbelief and pain clouding his gaze. I didn't want this," he gasped, each word strained, blood pooling around him. "Stay with me. We need to get out," she yelled, crawling over to him, desperate to apply pressure to the wound even as panic welled up inside her. The CEO joined her, dragging the man further behind the desk just as more bullets shattered the world above them, then, an urgent thought ignited in her mind. We have to grab those documents you mentioned. We can't leave without them. They might hold the key to stopping this. The CEO nodded, determination igniting behind his eyes. I'll cover you. We need a distraction, something to draw their focus away from us. Right. Just stay low. With that, she ducked her head, slipping out from behind the desk. Adrenaline thrusting her forward, she dashed to the nearest office, doors swinging wildly as she sought the documents. She fumbled through drawers, hands trembling, eyes darting toward the door, praying for time that a loud crash resounded behind her. The unmistakable sound of the CEO laying down cover fire. She flinched at the sight of the bullet sparking off the walls, warmth fading to a cold dread. Come on, she muttered, pulling open the last drawer only to be met with a pile of papers, unopened envelopes, and there it was. The familiar stack, papers bound tight in desperation. She scooped them up, heart racing as she heard footsteps echoing closer. Got it. She called out, and without looking, ran back to where the CEO was still firing, but when she reached him, dread consumed her. He was no longer firing. He was shoving the man behind the desk, heavy breathing escaping him. They're flanking us. The CEO warned. We need to move. With bullets still flying, they had to make a choice, a desperate leap toward survival or stay and fight a battle they weren't equipped to win. Are you ready? She asked, voice trembling, but fiercely holding on to hope, but just then, the door exploded inward, sending debris flying, and from the darkness emerged a figure clad in black, their intentions cloaked but their presence undeniable. Game over, the figure said, a sinister smirk curling on their lips. Her blood ran cold, the gravity of their situation crashing over her. Survival was slipping through her fingers, along with every hope she had built. What were they going to do now? With nowhere left to run, could they turn the tide, or had they already lost? The figure stepped forward, the dim light reflecting off the gleaming barrel of the gun they were holding. A chill danced down her spine. She couldn't decipher the face hidden behind a black mask, but the confidence in the way they moved sent an all-too-real message: this wasn't just a game. Get the documents, the CEO whispered urgently beside her, wiping sweat from his brow with desperate fingers, his eyes flickering with a mix of fear and determination. We can't let them get those. She nodded, but the weight of uncertainty hung heavy in the air. Every instinct screamed for them to run, but the papers felt like chains, anchoring her to that spot. Now. The intruder growled, stepping forward, eyes now boring into her heart raced as she clutched the documents tightly to her chest, a flicker of defiance igniting within her. You won't take them, she breathed, though her voice trembled. Really? The attacker laughed, a chilling sound that bounced off the walls. I've taken much worse than a stack of papers. Before she could respond, the CEO surged forward, arms raised, shouting, No. We can negotiate. The intruder's gaze darted to him, and in that moment, the chaos unfolded like a wicked dance. She could see the tension pulse in the air again, twisting and turning, waiting for the moment to explode. The CEO lunged out from behind the desk, creating a distraction. Time seemed to slow as the intruder's gun swung toward him. She had to act fast, lives hung in the balance. Look out! She screamed, she charged forward, adrenaline overriding her fear. It was reckless. It was foolhardy. The shot rang out, but not at the CEO. Instead, it blasted through the office window. Glass shattered, raining down like deadly confetti. Chaos erupted again. The figure stumbled back, shocked, as the room erupted in noise, confusion swirling among the flashes of panic. The CEO seized the moment, tackling the intruder to the ground. Help me! He shouted, wresting the gun from the figure's grip. The struggle was brutal, flashes of fists and bodies colliding, the sound of exertion echoing. Heart pounding, she rushed forward, grabbing hold of the figure's vest, pulling them away just enough to see something glimmer at their waist. A knife. Instinct kicked in, and she yanked it out, holding it close, poised to strike. Stop fighting. I'm not your enemy. She yelled, her voice quivering. The figure froze, caught between a rock and a hard place. The tension was palpable. Sweat dripped from their brow, eyes darting to the knife in her hand. Then, a voice broke from the chaos, filled with authority. Let him go. All of you. Now. A second figure emerged from the shadows, gun drawn. This one was different, air of command, certainty in their stance. Her heart shifted from terror to dread, recognizing the darkness that now surrounded them. Who are you? She shouted, fighting to keep her voice steady, but a tremor gave her away. I lead this team. And you're out of your depth, the newcomer said, surveying the scene with cold detachment. The hum of the fresh tension enveloped them, suffocating. Release the documents. Now. Defiance flashed through her. You think this is over? We won. Just give in. The CEO shot her a look, wide-eyed, as if knowing they were standing on a precipice, every choice leading them closer to a fall. Suddenly, the intruder jerked upright, eyes blazing. Listen to me, you can't trust anyone here. This isn't what it seems. What isn't? The question hung in the air, heavy and fraught. Before the answer could form, gunfire erupted outside, a cacophony that shook the very walls of their sanctuary. Get down! The CEO shouted again, yanking her back, but it was too late. The fight wasn't over. Their world was spiraling fast, danger crashing in from every angle. What new threat awaited them beyond those doors? They were running out of time. But amidst it all, a shrouded truth flickered on the edge of her mind, begging to be uncovered. What was it that they had to fear most? And who were they really up against? The gunfire echoed like thunder, sending an electric jolt through her body. With instinct kicking in, she dropped to her knees, heart hammering in her chest. The CEO followed her lead, barely avoiding a second blast that shattered the atmosphere further. Where's that coming from? He shouted over the chaos, panic carving lines across his face. She couldn't tell if he was talking about the shots outside or the threat now looming over them. The masked attacker had gained their footing, wrestling free from the CEO's grip, dazed but deadly. Standing up, they regained composure, aiming their own weapon at the CEO. This time, her breath hitched, shock skittered through her system. She tightened her grip on the knife, not knowing if she would use it to defend or react. Neither of you know what you're dealing with. The intruder spat, voice thick with desperation and anger. This isn't just about the documents. It's about survival. And whose survival? She pressed, each word slipping through her lips like ice. What does all of this lead to? A low growl of frustration escaped the intruder. If you'd just listen for a second enough. Barked the newcomer, stepping closer, gun still trained on the intruder. The mission is clear. Secure the documents and neutralize any threats. Now. Time froze. Her mind raced with questions, with calculations of trust and betrayal. Every second drilled into her brain was heavy with impending consequence. But this wasn't just about the fate of paperwork. Dread unfurled, letting the fear filter through her veins. What harm could it bring if she let her suspicions loose? In one swift motion, she lunged forward, knife extended toward the intruder. What do you know? Suddenly, sirens blared outside, their wails weaving around the chaos inside the office. The intruder flinched at the sound, their eyes darting frantically toward the nearest window. They're coming for you. A cold realization gripped her heart. Were they caught in a trap where the real enemies lingered beyond their vision? Gunfire rang out again, but this time it was followed by the thud of boots on pavement, intensifying her instinct to act. Listen. If they're here for us, we have to stick together. She urged, wrestling with the conflicting urgencies of the situation. Fight or flight? What's it going to be? The CEO staggered on his feet, hands raised. We can't trust them. They're here to complete a mission. Before she could dwell on his fear, the back door of the office burst open. A group of agents clad in tactical gear flooded in, weapons at the ready. Hands up. Everyone. One shouted, energy surging through the air as they oriented themselves. In that moment of sheer confusion, her mind grappled between empowerment and enslavement, a treacherous dance of uncertainty as her eyes scanned for escape routes. Get down. The intruder yelled again, shoving the CEO to the side before charging toward the window. The sudden movement sent everyone into chaos. The agents turned their guns, and she saw the look of shock plastered on the CEO's face. With a crash, the intruder hurled themselves out the window just as bullets fired, shattering the glass. She watched as the figure disappeared, leaving nothing but a swirling whirlwind of questions and uncertainty behind. Secure the area. One of the agents shouted, rushing toward her, eyes wide with concern, fear etched into the lines of their faces. Where did they go? She gasped, her voice fading. They all exchanged frantic glances, but no one had the answer. The world outside seemed to pulse with impending doom, a promise of danger closing in tightly around them. Focus. One of the agents snapped, cutting through the confusion like a knife. We have to clear this area now. But she couldn't shake the feeling that they were merely treading water. The truth about the documents, and the sinister game they were all caught in, loomed just beneath the surface. Was she ready for whatever revelation awaited? And what truly lay in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike? The crumbling walls felt like they were closing in, whispers of betrayal thick in the air. They were deeper in than ever. What awaited them in the fallout of this night? The atmosphere was electric, a raw tension crackling with barely contained chaos. Her mind raced, thoughts colliding like storm clouds. The agents flooded the room, guns raised, ready for anything, but her focus was elsewhere. She felt the tightness in her chest, the pulse of adrenaline racing through her veins. The intruder's escape had thrown everything into disarray. They could still be a threat, and with the chaos at the window, she feared they might not be the only danger lurking. The CEO's voice broke into her thoughts, rising sharply. We can't let them get away. They know something. Are you kidding? Maybe they're the only ally we have. She fired back, the weight of uncertainty suffocating. What do you think they were talking about? A sudden crash echoed from the back of the building, the distinct sound of heavy boots stomping against concrete. The agents whirled in that direction, instincts sharpening. She followed their gaze, her heart pounding harder with each passing second. In that moment, every nerve in her body screamed at her to hide, to flee. Yet, curiosity gnawed at her, making her feet feel rooted to the ground. Secure this area. One of the agents shouted, moving swiftly to the door, but she could see the uncertainty in his eyes. They were all caught in a web, tightly woven, a play of hunter and hunted. What do we know? She asked, urgency dripping from her voice. Did the intruder say anything before? Before she could finish, another burst of gunfire erupted, ricocheting through the office as more agents poured in from the hallway. One of them, a tall woman with steely resolve, counted off heads. We're responders, not assassins. We need to know our environment before we act. There's more at stake here than you think. She interrupted, her pulse thundering in her ears. That intruder, they implied there's something bigger. Are you suggesting we trust them? The agent snapped back, skepticism branded on her face. No, but the argument cut short as a chilling figure darted past the entrance, sliding into the office before slamming the door shut. The instant shut of the door was like a gunshot, sealing them off from the world outside. Faces turned toward the newcomer, and she felt a rush of heat spread across the room. It's not secure. The newcomer exclaimed, breathless. We need to move. Who are you? One of the agents demanded. I was sent to protect the documents. The newcomer's eyes darted around the room, full of desperation. They're coming. You have to trust me. An uneasy silence settled. They'd all been swept away from the reality of their mundane lives into the madness of a conspiracy. Frayed alliances held little weight against the fierce urgency closing in around them. The CEO shifted nervously, his gaze back toward the window. We need to figure out who the real enemy is. We can't be outsmarted again. The intruder's warning echoed in her mind. Survival. What did it mean? Survival. Was it merely the documents that were sought after, or was there someone much more vital buried within this unsolved mess? Look, she said, stepping forward, I don't care if we trust the intruder or not. We need to figure out what is happening now. Why are we targets? Suddenly, the lights flickered, a low hum vibrating through the office as power flickered and died, plunging the room into an eerie darkness. Just seconds after, the sound of distant shouts and the pounding footsteps of agents outside echoed more insistently. What is going on? The agent muttered, panic creeping into her voice. I don't know, the newcomer replied, voice barely above a whisper. But they're closing in fast. Fumbling from her pocket, she found her phone, the little sliver of light casting shadows against the stark faces around her. Questions fizzed in the air like angry bees. Who were they now? Friends or foes? But one thing was clear, the danger wasn't finished yet. And she had no idea how deep the rabbit hole truly went. What awaited them when the lights returned? Would they be facing the enemy or their own shadows? The darkness enveloped them like a shroud, thick and suffocating. She squinted at the flickering beam from her phone, illuminating anxious faces. They all looked lost, trapped in a nightmare. Something sinister was closing in, and panic crackled in the air, palpable and electric. What do we do now? Whispered one of the agents, a hint of desperation lacing his voice. The newcomer's eyes darted around the office, and for a moment, her intensity felt almost frantic. We move. If they find us here, we're sitting ducks. Where do we go? The CEO interjected, his voice rising, panic making his demeanor frantic. We can't just run out there into the unknown. What we know is that they're armed and hunting for something that's here. She replied, shivering, her bravado wavering. So we have to make a choice, risk the dark chaos, or stay and let them find us in this sanctuary of uncertainty. The hum of chaos from the hallway swelled, punctuated by quick bursts of shouting and the distant sound of heavy boots crashing against the floor. It was a countdown, and every second ticking down grew heavier, each moment thickening with dread. On instinct, she moved toward the door. We can't keep sitting here waiting to be found. We need to split up and distract whoever's out there. We'd be walking into a trap, the tall agent warned, a mix of fear and frustration sealing her lips into a firm line. We need a plan. But something about her words struck a chord. Deep within, the unresolved answer began to surface. There was strength within the chaos, and amidst the fear, each moment spent waiting only widened the gap of danger. No, we face whatever's coming at us together, she said, determination edging her voice. There's no guarantee they won't come for us anyway. We just have to outsmart them. With a sudden crash, the glass door behind her shattered, the sharp sound cutting through their deliberations like a blade. A heavy-set figure burst into the room, gun raised. Instinct kicked in. She lunged forward, using her phone as a blunt weapon, swinging it with all her strength right at the intruder's arm. The phone shattered, but the figure staggered back, shocked. Run! She shouted, adrenaline pumping through her veins as chaos erupted. They all bolted through the rear exit, the office crowding behind her like a swell of frantic shadows. The stench of stale air filled her lungs as they pounded down darkened halls, the sounds of clattering chaos following them, closing in like hounds on a hunt. Which way? The CEO yelled, glancing frequently over his shoulder, heart racing. Left. She screamed, brain racing with fragmented memories of the building's layout. The ceiling lights flickered momentarily, casting ghostly images against the walls, heightening the frantic tension. Sudden flashes of dread clouded her mind. What if they were leading themselves to a dead end? They turned the corner sharply, and her heart dropped. Ahead loomed another, larger area, a foyer marked with expansive windows, curtains pulled tight. But it felt wrong, too quiet. "We should check in there," she suggested hesitantly, uncertainty creeping into her voice. "Are you out of your mind?" The agent retorted, scanning the surroundings. "It's an open space, we'd be completely exposed." "Exactly. But it's the only space we can work with. We need to gather our thoughts." Before a crushing wave of noise blasted through the corridor, agents were flooding and shouting, some screaming commands like a predator closing in on its prey. "Now or never!" she shouted, charging forward, plunging into the foyer, a wild impulse driving her. But the moment they burst into the open, an unsettling stillness seized them. Shadows loomed, figures barely visible against the light streaming in. "What the hell?" the tall agent muttered, eyes widening in disbelief as a powerful voice echoed from the depths of the room. "Welcome," it sneered, a figure stepping out from behind the curtain. A man old, but with piercing eyes that held dangerous knowledge. "I see you found your way to the game." Her breath hitched, heart racing, palms sweaty. What game? What did he know? This wasn't over. The stakes were higher than ever, and she could feel it like a noose tightening around her neck. As the shadows moved and the tension steepened, she knew one thing for sure: the real danger was just beginning. The moment hung there, suspended in the frayed edges of fear and uncertainty. The CEO stepped forward, fists clenched, and a desperate glint in his eyes. "Who are you?" he demanded, voice taut as a bowstring. "Someone you should be feared long before now," the old man replied, his smile dripping with malice. "You're in over your heads, playing in a game far darker than you understand." Her heart raced, each beat a solid drum echoing her rising dread. The foyer felt like it was closing around them, the light fading subtly as shadows loomed larger. She held her breath, waiting for a sign of what would come next. The air practically vibrated with the threat around them. A game? She pushed, shaking off the paralysis that threatened to seize her. "What do you want?" The old man's gaze shifted to her, a predatory look that made her stomach twist. "Your resilience is amusing, but it won't save you. There's so much at stake. Your lives, your future," he sneered, "they're mere fodder for what's to come." "What are you talking about?" she pressed, her voice steadier than she felt. "Just tell us what your game is and why we're part of it." He laughed, a chilling sound that reverberated in the expansive space. "You're more than just pawns. You're the wild card. The girl from nowhere, with desires to surpass her station." He leaned in closer, a shadow cast over their party. "You could be so much more. But fear? It'll chain you down." The CEO's jaw tightened. "Talk is cheap," he fired back. "If you think you can intimidate us into submission enough." The old man's voice thundered, cutting through the tension like glass. "You're the ones who barged into my territory. Now you will face the consequences." With a flash of motion, he drew a sleek knife from his belt, its blade glinting ominously. Her pulse quickened, instincts screaming to act before they were preyed upon. "We can't let him have the upper hand," she shouted, heart pounding loud enough to drown out reason. "We need to turn this against him." "Agreed." The CEO nodded sharply, a fierceness igniting in his gaze. "We outmaneuver him together. We have to stick to the mission. Those documents. They are essential." The old man's laugh echoed again, a thunderous declaration of disdain. "You think mere paper will protect you? Laws are just chains waiting to be broken." As backup sirens wailed outside, she steeled herself, mind racing. This wasn't about power anymore. This was about survival. Without thinking, she lunged forward, arm outstretched, and knocked the knife from the old man's hand, sending it skittering across the floor. A gasp echoed from around her. What did you? Before she could complete her thought, the CEO surged forward, grabbing the old man by the collar, his eyes blazing with fury. What do you know about the documents? He shouted, voice fierce and commanding. Even in this precarious moment, the old man grinned, defiance flickering in his eyes. You think you've won? Your lives are already forfeit. Yet as he spoke, she noticed flickers of doubt cross his face. Perhaps even fear. It was a crack in his facade, and she seized the moment. Why are we targets? She pressed again, voice cutting through the noise. Tell us. Heavy silence filled the space, the tension thick as both predator and prey assessed each other. Because you have something they need, he finally said, voice lowering. Something hidden in those documents. But you don't really understand their power, or the cost attached. She exchanged glances with the CEO, his eyes mirrored her determination. Then we'll figure it out, she vowed fiercely, her stomach nodding at the realization of stakes beyond their comprehension. We'll beat whoever is coming for us. At that, the old man chuckled darkly. Fighting a ghost won't save you, they're already watching. Then we expose the truth, she declared, adrenaline thrumming through her. What if the documents are the key to turning the tide back on them? Silence fell again as the old man studied her with a mixture of curiosity and contempt. Do you really think a girl from nothing can thwart forces far beyond her? Understanding. But confidence surged through her. Yes, I do. We're not just fighting for our lives. We're breaking the chains of fear and revealing the truth. As she spoke, a crackle of electricity rushed through her veins, a spark of hope in the chaos. The CEO stood by her side, fists balled, determination radiating from him. We find out what's hidden in those papers, he said. Together, we expose those who play with lives like pawns. Just then, a pounding echoed from the corridor. The agent's footsteps were drawing near. It was now or never. Let us move. She shouted, and the urgency propelled them forward. They bolted back into the office, their minds racing. You, gather every piece of information. We need to outsmart them before they outgun us. In the eye of the approaching storm, they felt the stirrings of hope, a chance to rewrite the narrative, reclaim their power. As they dashed forward, camaraderie ignited between them. This wasn't merely a fight for survival. It was a pursuit for truth, a rebellion against the looming darkness. With determination echoing in her chest, she knew they wouldn't be cornered again. They were fighters now, armed with clarity and a purpose. The shadows may loom large, and the threats may grow ever darker, but that night would not be the end. It would be the dawn of revolution, a flashpoint in their fight against the unseen forces that threatened to consume them all. Together, she whispered fiercely, as they charged into the unknown. And in that very moment, the storm that had engulfed them began to shift. Now, it was time to take the fight to the enemy. If you've reached this point, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that are coming your way, every one of them packed with thrills and suspense. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm, and let us grow this community together. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this explosive conclusion. I want to hear from you, every single one of you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this epic finale. Your support is what fuels this journey, and only true fans understand the importance of standing together.